Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. This is Sunday, the 30th day of March, 2:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time where I live. I meet you with the intention of goodness and pleasantry and love. I'm not speaking to you from a position of hostility and maybe a little bit anger um, for what has transpired with the death of that young 13-year-old. But my speech today is about spirituality as opposed to religiosity or religion. I speak to you about that because it is centered in my spirit, in my body to speak to you about that. You know, I love all of you equally. Um, I hold no grudges. I hope no misfortune for anyone. I wish that every person's meal would be a banquet, and every day would be one that is akin to a holiday for all people in this world, but more especially people who live on the island of Barbados, my beloved country. Thank you if you listen to me. Thank you if you disagree with me. Um, and, I hope that we can always have a space that's dedicated to productive conversation and action. Um, Barbadians, there used to be a time when I'm going to use the Barbadian woman because I believe deep inside me that where the woman goes globally, but pointedly, where the woman goes in Barbados, so goes Barbados. When the moral fiber of a country declines, typically, and I know many may disagree, and it's okay. It is because not of the woman, but because mostly of the men. Um, the history of the world has documented information that would prove that most of the conflicts in the world, most of the misgivings in the world, happen when men are at the helm of political power or financial power or even familial power. Women, on the other hand, are more dedicated to teaching, to peaceful means, not making them weaker. Women are not weaker than men by any stretch of the imagination. Women are by far stronger than men in most things, if not all things. And when we allow women, Barbadian women, to be disrespected, we do ourselves a tremendous disservice. Let me draw attention to this fact. I recently was conversant with a friend of mine in Barbados who had been on public transportation, not the transport board, other public transportation, where music was being played and it was extremely vulgar. Barbadians, I believe deep in my heart that we have stopped, for whatever reason, self checking and checking others. By that I mean, we have an obligation to each other to point out our transgressions, albeit delicately, but to point them out in a spiritually caring way. It is not okay to get on transportation of any kind in Barbados, public transportation, more especially where you are paying a fee for a service, and for you to be exposed to music that is contemptibly disrespectful um, to children, the elderly, and more especially to women. Men in Barbados, shame on you. If you allow in your presence, by way of your playing music that is disrespectful to females in your midst, when you have mothers, sisters, daughters, aunties, grandmothers, nieces, when you allow that kind of perversion to enter into your space, shame on you, brothers. Shame on you if you're operating a vehicle for a fee that you do not know the difference between decency and indecency. Mothers, sisters, daughters, you know when you hear indecent lyrics coming, vulgar lyrics coming from a radio or any form of musical um, entertainment that should not be played in the public sphere, and you should say something. The time now has come for us to not be developing morally, but to be morally developed. We might be a developing country, but we shouldn't be developing morally or spiritually. We should be developed, and we should be able to speak truth to the least of these. We should be able to say that something is wrong or irreverent, period. I was pleasantly surprised to have seen a cleric in Barbados speaking on the death of this young man. I was pleasantly surprised. Now we need a call to action for all clerics, for all people in Barbados who would want to go to places of decency, to lock arms and speak against injustice. You know, Dr. King was so correct when he said, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. We must be able to hold ourselves to positions of decency and be meritorious in our attempts to force people who are not at that level yet of decency to come there. We have a responsibility to bring people to where they should be, and we need to be where we should be ourselves. Acts of irreverence and indecency, those are not places that we should be. And I'm not moralizing here. I am just saying that I would not use levels of perversity or levels of disrespect in the presence of my own mother if she were alive, or my grandmother. Why then would I want to do that in the presence of someone else's grandmother, someone else's sister, someone else's mother? There used to be a time in Barbados when a woman entered the room when a man would stand up. When you entered a home, you would take the hat off your head. When you would open the door for an elder person, or you would close the door behind them. When it was not permissible to be indecent. Have we gone so far astray that we no longer recognize elders in our midst, ladies in our midst, children in our midst? Have we gone so far astray that we can't recognize those things? I would offer that that's not the case. We recognize those things. We know when we are doing wrongdoing. We just have not been checked. We need to be checked. Each one must reach one, and each one must check one. We need to be checked. Brother, do you know that you shouldn't be using that language? Sister, do you know that you shouldn't be dressed in that way? It is possible for us to change the tenor of where our country is heading. Very possible. Whether or not we have co-opted an American lifestyle, British or Canadian lifestyle, Barbadians are not used to subpar misgivings. It is a country built on pride and industry. Decency is at the core of our belief. And when we allow ourselves to spiral away into indecency, that is contemptible. It is possible if we are talking to each other, if we are holding each other accountable for rapid change to occur. It is very possible. When we look at disaster preparedness, brothers and sisters, the two R's that exist in disaster preparedness are rescue and recovery. I believe that Barbados is still in the rescue mission. When Barbados ceases to be in the rescue mission is when it becomes apparent that there's nothing left to rescue, only to recover. Let us not go to the recovery mission, Barbados. Let us stay being rescuable across the spectrum so that we can save each other from what will be certain demise if our behaviors don't change. Brothers and sisters operating transport systems across Barbados, I ask you to look at and listen to the music that you play while passengers are on board. Modulate your tones so that it is respectful for those who need transportation sources across the island of Barbados. Take into account that we have vulnerable young minds on board. Teach them so that you can reach them. Much love and much respect to you. God bless you. God protect and guide you. God bless the government of Barbados, the people of Barbados, and the people of our region. Much love.
Help me spread the word about Naked Departure via social media. Subscribe and share to show support and love for our channels.